What up, what up? Welcome on into Inside Baylor Sports, the official daily podcast of Baylor Athletics. On today's show, we're talking Baylor basketball. The women are marching on to the Sweet 16 for the 16th time in program history. As for the men, they fell to Clemson in the second round. We'll break down both the games, all that more coming up on the show. Don't forget, you can catch Inside Baylor Sports every weekday. You can also watch the video version for free over at BaylorPlus.com and on the Baylor Athletics YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, rate, and review the pod. And follow Baylor Plus today on X, Instagram, and Facebook. It's the official content network of Baylor Athletics. Think Netflix for your Baylor Bears. Download the app on your mobile device and sign up for your free 7-day trial today at BaylorPlus.com. It's Monday, March 25th, 2024. Justin Off alongside 2021 national champion Obama KK. Oh, let's start with the women. A huge win on the road. Never easy to do on the women's side. 75-72, and Jada Walker, a career night, a game of her life, 28 points, 9 of 16 from the field, made a 3, 9 of 10 from the free throw line, 3 assists, no turnovers. Super impressive. She's a Virginia native. She went back home and had a career night. What'd you make of it?
First of all, like them winning at Virginia Tech, we talk about Virginia Tech, they're a Final Four team from last year. At the end of the day, they hadn't lost a game at home all season, and they won their conference. So just going there, winning a tournament game on the road, like you said, like it's different from the men's tournament. Like these games are neutral, so like mostly like 50-50. So like you're on the road playing against all Virginia Tech fans, and for the team and for her to perform like that in the environment when you're not favored to win, when all odds are against you, like that was impressive. So shout out to the girls team, shout out to Jada, and they get to go home and get ready to go play in the Sweet 16. So that's always a great feeling, getting to go back home and rest and get to look at the keys to success, take a few, not days off, but like take a little bit more prepare than having just one game and one day to prepare. Like that's always a good feeling. So get to Sweet 16 is no easy feat, and especially having to go on the road to win 2 games, like that is very impressive.
And how about Jada? I mean, just going home and having this career game. She's had a solid season for the team, averaging 7 points per game on the season, and she quadruples her average, right? 28 points. I mean, just she was making the mid-range, she's making the layup, hit the 3, was making her free throws. I mean, she was the best player on the floor.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. This was actually perfect timing for, Baylor fans, especially after the men lost. Like I tapped in just because I was like, I'm gonna watch like Baylor play. I watched them play since I was in school. So yeah, it was just fun. Like this is what March is made of. March is made for people to rise up to the occasion, and she definitely did that. And it was fun to watch, like her being able to handle pressure. And it was honest. I thought it was funny that she was able to burn like 10 seconds off the clock at the end of the game, just running around from those Virginia Tech players. So yeah, very impressive, very poised, way to handle herself. And there's a reason why they're still marching. I felt like the whole team, from coach all the way down, was very locked into the situation, and they made the most of the situation that they have.
Yeah, and Sarah Andrews, 16 points for her. Thought she had a really good first half. 3 threes for Andrews on the night. And you look at Baylor, 5 threes compared to Virginia Tech's 9. Virginia Tech built a little bit more like the Baylor men. They really rely on the three-point shot and struggle from the field. Did Georgia Amore, 7 of 22 from the field, 3 of 11 from the three-point line, had 6 assists to 4 turnovers. But Baylor, just 10 turnovers on the night. They've been plagued by turnovers, some on the women's side all season long, but to handle the basketball on the road in that environment, just so impressive. And I'll say this much about Nikki Collin. We've talked about it before a lot with Caitlin Bickle coming out of timeout. She's as good of an X's and O's coach as there is. I thought there was a great inbounds play there in the fourth quarter coming out of a timeout. And you see that a lot of times with coaches. What's happening coming out of the timeout? Now, she's not shooting the basketball, so sometimes you won't see the ball go through the net, right? But you're seeing an open shooter. Like she will draw up a play as good as anyone. She studies the NBA. She studies the WNBA. She's really, really high level inside those huddles. And I just thought in the fourth quarter, you saw that from Nikki and the staff and this team, and they executed and got this win. And back to the Sweet 16 for the 16th time in program history first time under Nikki Collin. This was a big win to get over that hump, and man, it was just so good to see.
Yeah, talking about just the ATOs, after timeout calls. I mean, that's when coaches make their money. Like not necessarily the shot doesn't go in, but like putting the confidence into the team, into the girls. That like the what she's doing is putting them in a position to win, and it was impressive to see. Like even on Twitter, when I was on Twitter watching the game after the fact, not watching, but like looking at tweets after the fact, I follow a couple of like coaches who are WNBA coaches. They were giving her praise. Like that just shows you how well she's doing, and it's on such a big stage. And I feel like the team executed the best of their abilities. Like I mean, obviously there's some things they can clean up, but like for the most part, like in these games, like no game's gonna be perfect. And for them to do this on the road, I mean, we can keep hearing report that they were on the road to a team who went to the Final Four last year, who had not lost a game at home all year. Like that was very impressive. And yeah, like there's a reason why they're still dancing. And shout out to coach, first time in the Sweet 16, and hopefully she can keep this train going.
Yeah, and you look at the Baylor Bears. I mean, I thought they played well in this one. I wouldn't say it was an A game, so still some room for improvement. And knowing that you didn't play your A game and still got the win on the road shows you that this team's ceiling is higher and can go further than a Sweet 16. You think about some of the 3-point shooting, 16 to 25 from the free throw line. If they can up that number just a little bit, field goal percentage at 43%. Rebounding, this is a number they usually do really well at. They're 21-1 when they out rebound their opponents. Virginia Tech got them +1, 36 to 35. So just a little bit more there, but took care of the rock and turnovers. I mean, that's such a key number. We always look to turnovers. I mean, I don't care what box score. If you didn't see the game, you can look at turnovers. And when you play on the road in a sold-out atmosphere, Castle Coliseum, their men's team did not make the NCAA tournament. They were all about the women's team, and they were all the way up to the rafters. I mean, that place was loud. They were proud of the Hokies. You heard some chants, but the chant that rang strong at the end was BU, and it was great to hear that chant as Virginia Tech went home with the loss. But, yeah, I mean, you handle the rock in that environment, you give yourself extra possessions to make shots, right? And so those turnovers, so critical to a game to keep it low. And at number 10, and just 10 turnovers, that's a great ingredient for this team to win basketball games.
Yeah, like you said, taking care of the ball. And I mean, I think they also did a great job containing their best player. She was All American too, so that just shows you like this team, the team they beat was really good, and like obviously heading deeper into the tournament to play the winner of USC versus Kansas. And the Big 12 did well in this tournament. Honestly, like Iowa State, not another loss to Stanford, but they put up a great fight against these tough teams. So I feel like the Big 12 really got them tested. People could have seen them like not winning it or being close to winning it as a disappointment, but I feel like the way Baylor has handled himself all season has been a testament to like how tough this team is and like how tough the conference was going into this tournament, and it's paid dividends. And now there's a reason why the Baylor Bears are in the Sweet 16, and can't wait to see who they play.
Yeah, the women were up all the way up to number 4 at one time during the
Yeah,
season, and so they've shown the ability with some big wins at Texas, defeating Utah. We'll see what Utah has in store. They play Gonzaga today. We'll see if Utah can make their way back to a Sweet 16 for them. But, yeah, as you said, good call out there. Oh, Texas handled business against Alabama. They're in the Sweet 16, as is Baylor, Iowa State. I'll tell you what, Iowa State, you keep an eye on this team for many future years. They are built with all freshmen on that team. They have Emily Ryan, but outside of that, it's all freshmen pretty much that play. And so if they can keep that team together, Iowa State women's basketball is going to be super strong and someone for Baylor to contend with for a long time to come, as is Colorado. Big win over Kansas State on the road, 63-50. Of course, Colorado in the Pac-12 this year, but heading back to the Big 12 and next year. Colorado, Utah, Arizona, they got knocked out early in the tournament. But, yeah, strong showing so far. And USC and Kansas, they play tonight at 9 o'clock on ESPN. That's the game we'll be watching because the winner will take on the Baylor Bears out in Portland next weekend. And USC, they're built by Juju Watkins. I don't know if you've seen her play, but certainly have seen her on social media. She's second in the country in scoring behind Caitlin Clark as a freshman. She's legit and someone to watch out for tonight when they take on the Jayhawks. And we're pulling for the Big 12, though. Would love to see a rematch against Kansas in Portland. That would be a lot of fun. Kansas and Baylor on the women's side.
Yeah, Juju can hoop. A little bit of a jack though. I've seen her go 6 for 32 in a game before, but she definitely is a baller. She definitely is one of those girls who's going to keep the women's game like definitely like growing and improving. I saw her Pac-12 championship game. It was in Vegas, and she didn't have a great game, and Forbes had a great game, and she had a great game. The Harvard transferred, so like this team has a lot of Harvard transfers from USC. They're a good team. Don't get it twisted. Like really good team. They were a 1 seed for a reason. And I mean, if they beat Kansas, it's gonna be an exciting matchup for our Baylor Bears. Like I feel like our veteran leadership is a little bit better than their veteran leadership. Obviously, they're led by a freshman, but I mean, it's all both teams are very well rounded for the most part. So it's gonna be an exciting matchup if that game happens in Portland. I mean, and if we play Kansas, I mean the Big 12. I mean, it kind of sucks though because like you have to prepare for a team you've already played against. You kind of like playing team that hasn't really seen your stuff. You could use the plays you've used in the beginning of the year, but at the end of the day, it's still basketball. So Sweet 16, just happy to be there right now, and we're not going to be happy to be there once we start the games playing. We want to win the Sweet 16 and keep moving on into the March Madness.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw Jada Walker got a nice cake, a Sweet 16
Yeah,
cake.
I saw
Pretty
that.
cool on social
That's
media.
dope. That
Yeah.
is dope.
A memory that she'll never forget. And so, such a great person. We had her on the podcast last week, and someone that may only stand like 5'5", 5'6", but a big heart and someone who made an impact on the floor. 28 points, and as a point guard, she's one of the really, I think, moving forward, one of the best point guards next year in the country. And so, really excited about her and her career and what she's doing here at Baylor. The other games in the Big 12 going on today over on the women's side, Oklahoma taking on Indiana. That's in Bloomington, so we'll keep an eye on that one. West Virginia at Iowa. West Virginia will try to end Caitlin Clark's career, and so we'll see how that one shakes out as well. And then you look at the Regional 3 in Portland, USC, Kansas. Winner plays Baylor in Portland. And then Duke defeated Ohio State in a bit of a mini upset there. Syracuse taking on UConn. The winner will play Duke. So that's how that thing's shaking out. We'll keep an eye on the women's squad. But, yeah, great job by them. Moving on to the Sweet 16 for the 16th time in program history. Jada Walker, career night, 28 points. All right, let's now move over to the men. A tough defeat, 72-64 was super close at the end. That scores a little bit, not super indicative of how close this game was down at the end of the stretch. But Clemson, just too much for the Bears, a 72-64 free throw line. That's something we'll talk a lot about here. I'm sure. Clemson, they shot it really well at the line. 20 of 24, 83%. As for Baylor, 16 of 26, 62%. And just not enough makes there. 64 points, not enough points for the Bears to hold on here.
Yeah, especially when you come off a game where you scored 92 points and they were feeling great, But I mean, the free throw percentage, you can even. I was saying this early in the show. I mean, to you, you can even probably make it even worse because 3 of those shot free throws at the end of the second half, like or the middle towards the end, when we're down like 10 or 11 points, were front ends of the 1-on-1. So, I mean, you got those are double whammies, honestly, and it just sucks that that's what kind of the game kind of came down to. I mean, slow start, but the positives though, I feel like they did a great job on PJ Hall. He's a superstar. I mean, getting him into that kind of foul trouble, getting him out of his game, I still feel like that kind of messed with the Clemson rhythm, especially when it came to the second half when they were looking for buckets, when it was harder for them to score. They weren't really in rhythm to go score. So, I mean, that was a positive I saw from the team. But at the end of the day, like, it just sucks. When you have a team elite program like this, haven't been to a Sweet 16 since the national championship years, and we've been a top 3 seed in the last 3 tournaments. It just kind of sucks. Very disappointing, especially when I feel like this year we had a great draw. People want to say North Carolina. The year after we won our championship, North Carolina was a horrible draw, and Creighton was a bad draw. But I feel like this year we matched up well with Clemson, and I just feel like they came out ready to play us. Like they were the fire and passion. Like they weren't the underdogs, and we didn't come out and meet them with that same aggression at the beginning of the game. But the fact that Baylor fought to the end of the game and made it, it could have been a 20-point blowout. There were a lot of blowouts today, or yesterday, sorry. And Baylor fought to the end, and it came down to those 2 free throws. I know Jacoby's going to be sick, and then it hurt for all Baylor Nation. But the fight that Baylor put up the whole season, it was just very impressive, and just sucks that it had to end that way.
Yeah, 24 and 11 on the season for Baylor. And you look at the numbers of this game, you always love to just dig in the stats. I mean, you can, sleep through a game and not see it, but you look at these stats and you can kind of tell who won the game by just some of the numbers, right? And you think about for Baylor, they got 7 more field goal attempts, but 2 less makes. Had to do a lot of work at the free throw line, the same amount of 3-point makes on both sides. And that's a bit of a surprise. You head into this game, you would not think that Clemson and Baylor would shoot the same amount of, make the same amount of 3-pointers. And you knew if that was the case, it might lean towards the Tigers. And then the free throw line +4 for Clemson, most of those coming at the end of the game. But still, that's the final box score. Baylor +1 on rebounding, 16 assists for Clemson to Baylor's 7. Baylor had to do a lot of ISO, a lot of one-on-one to get some of their points in this particular game. 10 turnovers for Baylor, really strong in that department. We talked about it on the special edition. If Baylor could make more threes than turnovers, that would be a tremendous recipe for success. 6 threes in this game to 10 turnovers just wasn't quite enough. And just tough, no doubt about it. You look at Ray J. Dennis, a great performance in his final collegiate game, 27 points for him. Really kept Baylor in it late and made some critical layups, some pull-ups there. Jacoby Walter, 20 points for him. Jalen Bridges, 10 for him. You look at those three, they scored 89% of Baylor's points, 57 of 64 coming from 3 players. And for much of the season, the scoring was balanced. Obviously, we didn't have Langston Love in the postseason, which was an incredible impact. He was one of our top players, our best 3-point shooter, one of 6 players averaging in double figures, out for much of the last month. But balanced scoring was the piece that really put Baylor over the top, having 6 guys in double figures. And unfortunately, in this one, just 3 got there, and most of the scoring coming from those 3 guys.
Yeah, and we just could not shoot. I mean, one of the best shooting teams in the country, and just could not buy a shot yesterday. I don't even think I feel like we were getting good shots too. It wasn't like a lot of forced shots in my opinion. Just sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. And I feel like early in the game we just let them scoring on us affect the way we played on offense. I feel like the fact that we were making shots affected our defensive performance also, and vice versa. So just the energy, it just kind of sucks. We've been talking about it all year. I feel like the slow starts have gotten to us, and when you let a team like that, who may not think that they're not as good as you guys, but you let them hang around in the game long enough, they start to believe that, and that's why when you build a 15-point lead in the second half, it's honestly almost impossible to overcome. Like, this is March, things happen. We've seen it happen with North Carolina. We saw it happen in the Dayton Arizona game. It's just like I feel like if we played better defense early in the game, then it wouldn't have had to come down to that kind of ending. But it is what it is. It just kind of sucks. I feel like we played well. Like scoring kind of wasn't balanced, but I feel like the guys played well. I feel like Jaden played well. Maybe not scored as much as he wanted to, but he played well. Eve struggled a little bit. I feel like Josh played well down the stretch, but I mean, at the end of the day, scoring can only do so much. That's why teams who score, the best scoring teams in the country, don't usually pan out that way. That's why you see Kentucky flame out early a lot. So I feel like once we get better on the defensive end and buy into that side and shut teams down, we'll start having deeper runs in March again.
When you look back this game, that first half, the end of the first half, and we've had, hey, basketball is a game of runs, right? You hear it all the time. You could say it's a cliche, but it really is. And a lot of times what stops the runs is timeouts. But the end of the first half, really look back at where this game may have been won or lost, and you could make a case that was it, right? Because Baylor never led in this game. And Clemson led wire to wire. And by that, got to give them credit, right? You lead wire to wire, you deserve to pull out the victory. But you look at this, Eve Misi, a dunk at the 5:21 mark of the first half. It's 25-22 Clemson, and the half ends 35-25. And so those last 5 minutes for Clemson to dominate like that, take a 10-point lead into halftime, gave them a nice cushion. And for much of the second half, it was double figures. Give Baylor credit. They never gave up. A lot of teams would wilt and just say, put their hands up. Hey, it wasn't our night. It's over with. Our season's done. And we're thinking about golf season and what looks like after the off season, going fishing, as Charles Barkley would say, and Kenny Smith. But, they held on. They hung in there. And the tough piece about it was those free throws in the second half, because Clemson was in uber foul trouble. big time foul trouble. PJ Hall just fouled out on the play with Jacoby Walter. He goes to the free throw line. If he makes both those free throws, it's a tied ball game with 30 seconds left. And if we can sneak this one into overtime, much like we did against North Carolina, then we have an advantage because they had two other guys that had 4 fouls. And so you were right there. You could feel it. That's why it's so difficult to take this one in. But just know, I know our fan base is disappointed, is sad, is in some cases frustrated or angry. Just think about those players, right? And those coaches, all that hard work, those nights, and how much effort they put into this. And they want it more than anybody. And unfortunately, the great thing about sports is there's winners and losers in games, and not everybody can win. And so it's just one of those deals that sometimes it comes down to some free throws, and there was some missed free throws there at the end. And when you think about free throws, you shot them. We've talked about it on the podcast a lot of times. Hey, it doesn't necessarily matter when the free throws come, but I'm big on the free throws under 5 minutes. When it gets to the 5-minute mark, 5 to grind, as O would say in the team, those are the free throws you really highlight. Like, those are the ones you got to get. Not to say you want to miss all your other free throws in the first 35 minutes of the game. No, but it's those last 5 minutes really makes a difference. And when you're playing from behind, you got to make as many as you can. And unfortunately, just Baylor left a few too many out there.
Yeah, I was just looking. First, we can even go back to the first half when we have the ball down 7, 40 seconds left, and we miss a 3, and then they hit a 3 at the buzzer. Like, they're up 10. Like, that's a 6-point swing that people may not even notice. Like, going into the half, either down 4, down 7, or down 10. That's a little difference. I talked about Jacoby missing the front end of the one-on-ones twice, and then Ray J missing the front end of one-on-one. Like, those are 6 points you left on the board. We're down 11, 57-46 at this time. That can make it a 5-point game, 7-point game, 8-point game. Like, those are big free throws, like you said. So, we can talk about Jacoby missing the 2 free throws at the end of the game. But, a lot of people want to say the games weren't lost in those moments. It just sucks that for Jacoby, he missed those 2 free throws. And then, of course, their 55% free throw shooter makes 2 free throws at the end of the game. Like, you can't even script these things. When 80% shooter makes those misses, and then 55% makes it. But at the end of the day, there's 40 minutes played. And like you said, that 5 to grind minute where it's 25-22, maybe keep it 5. That's a different game. Maybe those free throws don't even need to be made. Maybe those free throws are to win the game, So, like, over the stretch of the game, I can't say. It just sucks he's a freshman, tough to step up to the position. Probably should make those free throws, but it's tough for everybody involved. As a fans, we're hurting for him, and it's just a tough position. But for the full 40 minutes, I feel like Baylor has struggled to put 40 minutes together all season. And I think we've talked about this on the podcast. If we played the last 5 minutes, maybe if we played the way we played the last 5 minutes in the first 5 minutes, we're up by 15, and we're coasting to a win. But instead, the cookie didn't crumble that way. And it just sucks, Especially you feel it more when you've been with the team. So, hopefully next year we can build on this, keep building on this stuff. At the end of the day, only one team ends the year happy, in my opinion. Like, the first weekend, 16 teams are happy they made it through. But those teams, the next weekend, only 4 teams are going to be happy they made it through, because nobody's happy when they lose, especially at a program at Baylor. Not going to say it's championship or bust, but, like, you want to make it. You expect to make the Sweet 16. You expect to make the Final Four. So a lot of conversations will be had. A lot of time is going to be put in the gym this summer. And I know Coach Drew and the staff is going to be hungry to get things back in order to hopefully win the championship the next year.
Yeah, it never really, one play. Usually, there's games where it's like that play decided it, but it's a lot of plays, right? It's a series of plays. And so as much as you want to look at the last 2 free throws, it wasn't really about just them. It's all the free throws, right? All the free throws in this game and all those opportunities, those missed shots and everything. 6 to 24 from the 3-point line. There's a lot of misses there, right? If you make 10 threes, you win this game. If you equal your turnovers 10 and 10, you're good. And at free throw line, if it's 16 to 26, heck, if it's 20 of 26, there's a good shot we're playing in overtime. And so it's just one of those deals. It's tough. And that's the great thing about basketball. You make shots, you win. And as much as you want to talk about defense, which, there's some things you could talk about in this game or throughout the season, but Clemson only scored 72. And so if Baylor does what they typically do from the 3-point line and from the free throw line. I mean, this is a team that's a plus 70% free throw shooting team, a 40% 3-point shooting team. If you do your numbers, you probably win this game. And so, just unfortunate the way it fell. And obviously, good luck to Clemson the rest of the way. It's been a tough Big 12. Big 12's been tough here as far as the NCAA. You see just Houston and Iowa State moving on, and that's tough for the conference. I mean, I think there was a lot better showing out there for not only Baylor but for the entire conference, and it's just the way that it shakes out. But hopefully for Houston and Iowa State, they can make deep runs the rest of the way. Oh, what do you think about this one? And this is not just saying this because we missed our 1-on-1s. I've really felt this way for a while. Men's basketball, they've had halves for many, many years. Now, I think you could say that it's the only sport in basketball that plays with halves and not quarters, and you think about quarters in the NBA and you're watching. This is particularly in the fact that we watch the women's game right after the men's game. And so you're thinking about the quarters. It's 4 10-minute quarters instead of 2 halves at 20 minutes, and how the free throws are worked out. There's no 1-on-1s on the women's side. You get to 5 fouls. It's 2 free throws the rest of the way. I don't know if that's ever going to change. We're right now we're talking a lot about the NCAA tournament expanding, but where do you stand there?
I prefer quarters. If they don't care, if they want to keep the 1-on-1, you can just make it like high school. High school is 4 8-minute quarters, and once you get to 7 fouls and a half, you shoot 1-on-1. You get to 10 fouls and a half, you shoot 2. So I mean, if you want to keep it the 1-on-1, you can just keep it by halves instead of by quarters. Like women's game. If they want to do a full wholesale change, but I prefer 10-minute quarters. We did that in NIT. When we went to the NIT, they did little rule changes. They wanted to test it out for the NIT that year. Expanded arc. I personally would rather us just copy FIBA rules. Maybe not the goaltending rule, but I mean that would be kind of fun. Like seeing like Eve and stuff like that, like hit the ball as soon as the ball hit the rim. That would be kind of funny. Maybe not go that extreme, but like I personally would like the 4 10-minute quarters. I'm also, this might be another strong take. I like shot clock at like 25 seconds. I think that I feel like if you're playing at that fast, that's how the NBA plays. That's how FIBA plays, and teams will have to get in their sets quicker. I mean, my biggest gripe about college basketball is teams will literally run a set for 29 seconds and then shoot a horrible shot. I feel like if you did a 24-second shot clock, you can get teams to get into sets quicker. And I mean, there are probably more points, but like teams like Alabama and Baylor would be fine. But like you could get teams into more sets and more actions quicker. And it would make the flow of the game a little bit quicker, in my opinion. Teams would have to be in better shape, but like, yeah, those are my 2 gripes: 4-minute quarters, 4 10-minute quarters. I'm not so set on the foul situations. You can keep it at 7 fouls. I don't mind 1-on-1s. I think pressure makes diamonds, and I like it. That's my opinion. I think it makes for a little bit more exciting game, and then make the shot clock 24 seconds. That's my hot take. You can keep it at 30, but those are my 2 things I like, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. It was just, once again, you watching the men's game
Yeah.
from 5 to 7 Central Time, and then you're watching the women's game from 7 to 9, and you just contrast. It's very different, those 2 games. And one of
Yeah.
the pieces that's different is the quarters to halves and the fouls and how that all goes down.
Yeah.
And, you can make your case about the shot clock and how that could impact Cinderellas and some teams that want to slow it down, different strategy. And so you can have a lot of different things there. But shot clock wasn't a factor in this one, but maybe if the free throws have been laid up a little bit differently as far as the 1-on-1s and how that's all set up, could have been a little bit different. So unfortunately, though, Baylor fell in this one to Clemson.
Yeah, I also like how the women's games kind of mirror the NBA, like WNBA. That's kind of cool. And I also like in the girls' game, they should put it in men's college basketball. You can advance the ball. I
That
think
needs
it's
to
under a
happen.
minute. Yeah, that needs to happen. I think that should be automatic. And I like what you say. You like the challenge. I like the challenge too. I mean, we have cameras in every arena now. You might as well be able to do one of these. But in an NBA, instead of, because like when the ball goes out in the last 2 minutes, everybody's just doing this. I feel like if a team has a challenge, you should just get away with everybody doing this. Everybody should just have a challenge. Then in the last 2 minutes, you have to challenge it to go out of bounds instead of having all these reviews. If you think the ball's off you, just go. Yeah, I don't need a challenge. It is what it is. Instead of having to go to the monitor for the last 2 minutes. The last 2 minutes of the game takes 15 minutes instead of like the normal 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, we could go on a tangent with this and different things. We haven't talked about that on air here, the fact
Yes.
that the challenges, but yes, I'm in favor of 2 challenges on the men and women's side at any time, anytime. And it's strategy, right? You can pick your challenge. If you have a star player who picked up their, second or third foul and you don't want that, you didn't think it was correct, you saw the video board,
Yeah.
challenge it. A ball going out of bounds, whatever it is, right? A block charge call. I mean, I think it could provide a lot of strategy, just 2, okay? And I might say if you win both challenges, a little NFL feel here. If you win
You
both,
get
you get
third
another.
ones. Yeah, I agree with that.
So I would say at any time. And then, yeah, under 2 minutes, I'm okay with them going to the monitor. I do think they go to the monitor too many times outside the last 2 minutes. 2 minutes, I think that's good. I think you might live in the monitor a little bit too much, and they do this in college football too, just too many replays. And I wish they gave coaches challenges, which would actually, if you give the coaches challenges and you limit your going to the monitor or replay for under 2 minutes or just for touchdowns in football, you can actually speed the game up. And so I think there's a situation of less is more and building some strategy here that could make things pretty fun. But I'm sure that might be a headache for some of the coaches, but I'm sure some of them would really love it. I know you got staffers on that team, and you can have guys, hey, challenge it. If your players think the challenge, they do the little circle there. Go ahead and do it. And we can see what happens. So a lot of things. Hey, the sport of college basketball on both the women's and men's side is very, very healthy. Unfortunately, just the Baylor Bears will not be moving on to the Sweet 16. So fell to Clemson in the second round, and that'll do it for their season. That's also it for our today's edition of Inside Baylor Sports, a Sport and Story production. Thanks for listening. For Obim Okeke, I'm Justin Hoff. Have a great Monday, and sick 'em Bears.